Hello, and welcome to Scratch Paper, a writing-related podcast. I'm Alicia de los Reyes, and this is episode 27. So before I jump into today's lesson, which is why you should take a DIY writing retreat, I wanted to give you a heads up. If you are a returning listener, you know that I usually do a reading and writing update at the beginning of each episode. And I'm going to take a break from doing those because I was feeling, because I give you an update every time, I have to have something to share every time. And I realized that that's an idea that I don't really believe in, which is the idea that I don't believe in is that you need to be always reading and writing. And so if I have something new to share, I will definitely update you here. Instead, I'm going to switch and start with a prompt or a question that hopefully should be fun and easy to answer. And I would love to hear your answers to my prompt or question. You can post on Twitter or Instagram and just use the hashtag #ScratchPaperPodcast. And if you get my newsletter, you can also reply to that newsletter, just reply to it, and let me know your answer. And I'm planning to do some kind of like fun giveaways, perhaps a copy of DIY Writing Retreat, my ebook. So if you want to get notified about those, please sign up for my newsletter. You can go to my website, aliciadelosreyes.com, and there will be a button at the bottom of this post or on the side of my website. It's always there. You can just type in your email address and I will keep you updated. And I usually send them out roughly once a month. And I don't do a lot of, no fluff. So, okay. So quick reading update, because I actually have read something. I've read 2 Cormoran Strike books, which are by Robert Galbraith, who is a pseudonym for J.K. Rowling. So they're murder mysteries. And I totally love the main characters, and I absolutely could not stop reading the very first book, which is about a model who jumps out a window. Or does she? So that one was really good. The second one is about a author who is killed in a really gruesome way. And I have to say that it was so gruesome that I did not like having the book in my bedroom at night, and I would go put it outside on the stairs before I went to sleep. And I also didn't like having it on my coffee table because I felt like it was making the coffee table dirty. So the second Cormoran Strike book, really gruesome. And I personally felt the ending did not live up to the build up. But then again, I also couldn't put that second one down. So I am going to check out the next one. I'm just taking a break so I don't completely become a hermit. So I don't have a writing update, but I do have a fun question, and it's a prompt that I saw online on Instagram this morning by somebody I follow called Black Book Blues. I'll link up to them in the show notes. And this person asked, what is your favorite book title? And I thought it was such a great question because right away my favorite book title popped into my mind, and it is Saint Maybe by Ann Tyler. And I just think that is just like the perfect book title. And also I think I like book titles that have the word saint in them, because I also like a book by Anne Patchett called The Patron Saint of Liars. Actually, I don't love that book, but I do like the title a lot. And, I'm not sure why I love the word saint in titles so much. I think it has something to do with my Catholic childhood. But anyway, I would love to hear what your favorite book title is. Please post on Twitter or Instagram and just use the hashtag #ScratchPaperPodcast and I will find you. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about why you should take a DIY writing retreat. And this is the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because I was just interviewed for the very first time on a podcast called Marginally Podcast. It's a super great writing podcast hosted by 2 women, Megan and Olivia. And I really like their back and forth. They're both super smart and feminist and have a lot of really, I think, insightful and balanced things to say about writing. So the whole premise is that they write in the margins, and that their lives and work take up space in their life. So writing isn't their entire life. Aren't their entire lives? It's very complicated. Anyway, so they interviewed me, and I got to talk about how I fit writing into my life as a parent, and a bit about how I came up with DIY Writing Retreat. But one thing I felt I didn't answer very well, which has been bothering me since then, is why you should take a DIY Writing Retreat. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between a DIY writing retreat, do-it-yourself writing retreat, and a retreat that you apply for. So I think that's a good place to start. So there are retreats and residencies and workshops that you can apply to, usually with a pretty significant application, requires a lot of questions and a writing sample, and often there's a fee to apply. And these retreats can range from fully funded, meaning you pay nothing or next to nothing, to you fund the whole thing. You pay for your for all the expenses, like where you stay and what you eat. So there's a whole range of these residencies, and some of them are really prestigious, and many famous writers have been on them. Others are not well known, but can be really helpful or fun to go to. But the kind of unifying factors that inspired me to write DIY Writing Retreat are that they cost money. They take you away from your life for usually at least a week and sometimes months. And they're fairly disruptive. So for me as a parent right now, I have a pretty small child. I can't really leave for 3 weeks. I know plenty of people have to do that, and they do. But given the choice, I don't want to leave for 3 weeks, I guess I should say. And since I have the option not to, this is not a good time in my life for a residency. And a lot of people also can't go to these residencies because even if you do have the time, you might not necessarily have the money. So if it's for several months, you might not be able to take off work for that long, or even if it's for a month, you might not be able to take off work. If it's a week-long or 2-week-long residency or retreat, you might be eating up all your vacation time. And plus, like I said, the applications, they're no joke. So whenever I've filled out an application for one of these things, and I've applied to a couple, it takes up my writing time for that week, maybe for another week. So that's pretty precious time to me. So anyway, so these things make residencies out of reach for many people. And so I thought, why not, if what we really want is writing time, why not make a guide for people who don't have time to get away for a whole week, to get away for a weekend or maybe even just a day or an afternoon. And the guide will sort of create the structure for you to do writing and not think about anything else, which is, I think, a huge benefit to a retreat. So with the DIY Writing Retreat, with a do-it-yourself version, you won't get the prestige attached to going to a writing retreat that has name recognition. You won't be able to put it on your resume, but you will get hours to write all to yourself. So here are some reasons why I think a DIY Writing Retreat, a do-it-yourself one, is beneficial. So first of all, it can kickstart your writing. If you have say you've always wanted to be a writer or a more serious writer, but you've never found yourself feeling like one, if you go away for a 1-day retreat and all day you make your focus writing, not saying you write all day, but you make that day into a quote unquote writing day, then that will help shift your perspective, and it'll help like get you writing a lot of pages. So whether or not you really feel like a writer at the end of it, you'll probably have more pages to show for it than you would after trying to squeeze a little bit of writing time out here and there. Another benefit or reason you should think about taking one is it can boost your, give you a boost when you're working on a tough task. So when I was revising my first novel, Finding Lucy, I had like a terrible time doing it, and I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I got to go on a writing day, just a one-day retreat, and I knocked out like a whole bunch of pages of revising. And then I still remember I had 23 pages left to do after that. And that seemed like a totally doable number. So before the retreat, I was hopeless. After the retreat, which was just one day, I was like ready and raring to go. I could finish it. And I did in a few weeks. So, excuse me. And then the last thing is that getting away can shift or break open your perspective. So like I mentioned in the beginning, if you don't feel like a writer, spending a whole day or a weekend writing is a really fast way to start feeling like a writer. I remember that first day that I got away, it was after, it was when my son was just over a year old, and I literally had not been able to get away for a whole day since he was born. And, me and my husband made it happen. And I remember thinking, man, sometimes I wish I just wanted to like go get a massage or something or go shopping. But no, what I wanted to do was write for a day. And so that made me feel really hardcore. And it made me feel a lot more like a writer than I'd felt in a while. And another perspective I wanted to share on this is I saw a video by Mira Bartok, who's a writer and an illustrator. And she used to host a site that had like all different kinds of residencies and fellowships and things you could apply for as an artist or a writer. And I'm not sure if she still runs the site anymore. She did it totally as a labor of love. It was like free to use. But I think she still does tweet about opportunities. So I saw a video of Mira Bartok talking about why you should apply to these things. And she talked about the very first time she was in a room on a retreat, like a residency, and it was for illustrators, and the room was just filled with all the art supplies that she needed. And she had, like all the tools that she couldn't afford at home, that she could use like big machines that she didn't have in her house or apartment. And she talked about how like life and career changing that was. Like it made her feel like an artist. So I think that because writers don't need a lot of tools and supplies, that you can get that feeling too if you give yourself the time and space to write. So if you do a writing retreat on a small scale, you can get this kind of shift in your perspective, and that can be very empowering. So, you won't get the prestige that's connected to a quote unquote real retreat, but you will get the opportunity for freedom and a shift in perspective and time to write. So I also wanted to mention this now because it's November, and that means that it's National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. So if you are participating and you want to catch up or get ahead with your word count, one way to do it is to pick a day and knock out a bunch of pages on that day. And so I think setting aside a whole day to write, or a whole weekend if you can be really invigorating and exciting and help you achieve your goals. So those are some reasons why I think you should consider taking a DIY writing retreat. Like I said, I've taken them before. Since my son's been born, I've just taken one-day writing days. And what I like to do is take a ferry, because I live in Seattle, and a ferry is a great way to get out of the city and it's just fun to ride on ferries. and go to a town and I sit in their coffee shops and I walk around and explore a little bit, and I break up the day into chunks of writing time. And I set a schedule for myself, and I usually follow something similar to the guide that I wrote, which is just called DIY Writing Retreat. And if you're interested in getting the guide, it's $5 on Amazon. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to be doing giveaways. So if you'd like to win a free copy, you can sign up for my newsletter at aliciadelosreyes.com. So all the show notes with links to everything that I've mentioned here are on my website, aliciadelosreyes.com/podcast27. And, I better spell that, ALICIADELOSREYES.com. And if you do take a DIY writing retreat, I would love to hear about it. Love to hear what tips you have for other people, or how you structure it. What are your favorite places to go? So please do comment on the show notes, or reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram. Thanks so much for listening, and happy writing.